One of the hardest things a person can do is to accept how people perceive them, in addition to any potential flaws and shortcomings. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar. Please like this video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. So this is going to be a fun video, and once you get deeper into it, you will discover why. So the first principle of my blog is creating ecosystems of success, and that pretty much extends into any and every arena in life. Two blog posts that will pair well with this video. I know that sounds like I'm a server at a restaurant, but two of my blog posts that will pair well with this video are my first two essays that I wrote for the Examiner, and subsequently my first two blog posts on my blog entitled The Benefits and Challenges of Using Articulate Speech, and then Challenging Misconceptions and Stereotypes in Academic Achievement. And as I get deeper into this, you'll see how those apply, and you'll be able to think about how those apply. And I think my very first 1 to 2 YouTube videos were based upon those two blog posts. So those stories are a part of who I am as a person and as a professional. So this t-shirt I'm wearing, it says Angry Man. So I want to acknowledge the Angry Man. The Angry Man is a real person, and the Angry Man is a YouTube content creator, a much bigger YouTube content creator than I am. I discovered him a couple of years ago in the Negro Manosphere. I don't know if he still considers himself a part of that. I know him and his following and his cohort and his syndicate. They've kind of, in a way, kind of broken off into their own thing. But I first heard about him through in association with some of the other content creators in the Negro Manosphere or the Black Manosphere. I think his Angry Man's actual name is Valdez, or Juan Valdez, but I'll just refer to him as Valdez or the Angry Man. But I watched for a while, became a Patreon, and then I bought some of his paraphernalia. And some of Angry Man's stories really resonated with me. Initially, he was discussing black men's issues and the issues with dating and mating in the black community from his experience and with his unique perspective. And then recently he's kind of started talking about the societal pressures on black men and black relationships with a particular focus from the black female side. I'm going to leave that there, but I'm just going to say that many of his messages and stories resonated with me. Many of them have been about becoming a man, manhood, and why properly developing into a black man today is so difficult and problematic. One day he told a story, or should I say one night he told a story about his childhood, and he told us that he was I don't want to say a nerdy kid. And Angry Man, if you're watching this, if you see this, you can, you know, comment in the comment section below. But he talked about how he was a smart kid and he was into learning and he was into comic books and science fiction, and how at some point that became ostracized by his peers, and that became frowned upon by his peers. And I think that he said that at one point he created his own comic book character called Face. And, you know, when he got into high school, he realized that there were other black boys who were ostracized and made fun of, and he would often fight on behalf of those kids. So, you know, that story really resonated with me, and it's in part inspiring this particular video. So once again, shout out to the Angry Man and the Angry Man Nation. So recently, so how does this all relate to my life? So recently, a friend said that I sounded nerdy when I was talking about something. I was talking about an upcoming holiday party at my job, and I said, I think I said, we're going to turn up, or I'm going to turn up at that party. And she giggled. And this was a Latina, by the way. And she giggled, and she said that I sounded kind of nerdy when I said that. And for those of you who don't know, turning up, that's urban vernacular or urban speak for we're going to party hard, or we're going to have a good time, or we're going to drink hard. And, you know, analogous to that is we're going to get lit, you know. Some folks who still go to the clubs, they say, you know, we're going to go to the club and we're going to pop bottles. So all these things are synonymous with one another in urban vernacular and vocabulary. But she said that I sounded nerdy when I said it, and I laughed it off, but a part of me kind of said, wait a minute, I sounded nerdy. You know, I sounded nerdy. And I realized that that resonated with me, or that grabbed me in a certain way, and in a way that I hadn't felt in a while. So I'm going to take you back. I'm going to take us back about 6 years to a previous relationship, a very bad relationship, which, like most relationships, started off nice and rosy. But me and my plus one at the time, that's more urban vernacular, we were driving around, I think it was a Friday, and we were listening to the radio, we were running errands, and she said, I think one of Fabulous's songs came on, and for those of you who don't know, Fabulous is a rapper. And she says to me, well, do you know who Fabulous is? And I knew who Fabulous was, because I didn't listen to a lot of rap music at that time. At that time, my musical palette had become very broad. But I knew who he was. I'd seen him in videos, and I'd heard his music, so I knew who Fabulous was. But I was kind of insulted by the question, because the way that I took it and the way that I think she meant it was, are you black enough? Do you know who this artist is? Because you don't seem like the type of guy to know, or that would know, who Fabulous is. And that goes back to my 2 blog posts. Much of my childhood was spent just trying to fit into black culture. And when you speak and articulate a certain way, and when you carry yourself a certain way, that goes counter to the dominant, in this case, culture, or you deviate from it, you're viewed as different. So I think at some point, particularly in middle school, I noticed that about me and my brother and the way we were raised. I noticed that it was different, and there was a point at which I really cared. It was a long stretch of years, and there was a point at which I really wanted to fit in with my black peers. So I was I was kind of insulted by her asking me if I knew who Fabulous was, and it turned into a big blowout. And afterwards I felt bad about it and I apologized to her, but I realized, where that came from. And that wasn't the only time that something like that had happened. There was another night I went out here in DC, and I went to a lounge or something like that for happy hour, and I met this woman, and it was mostly black people, in this venue. And I started talking to her. I struck up a conversation, and she said, you seem like the type of guy who likes to live around white people. So I wasn't offended by that because I had heard similar stuff before, but this, the way you articulate yourself as a black man, the way you carry yourself, and the way you're perceived sometimes by your own people, that's a real thing. And it doesn't just stop in childhood. It goes into adulthood as well. We're always judging and evaluating each other, and how closely we mirror the culture and what's considered acceptable and what's considered black and normal. So ultimately, I had to learn, as a part of my journey, I had to learn to love and accept myself regardless of what other people said about me or thought about me. And that's not an easy thing to do. Let's see. So the Angry Man's story regarding his childhood and what happened to some of his peers, that's a real thing in terms of black boys transitioning into manhood, and then conforming to the archetypes and stereotypes of what a black boy and a black man are. That's a real thing. And so last night, or whenever it was that I spoke to my friend, I realized I am a nerd. Yeah, I am a nerd. I think about Star Wars and Star Trek and the Avengers, and I love that stuff. I make videos about pharmacology and toxicology and chemistry and astronomy and blockchain technology. I have a PhD from the University of Michigan. I was a general biology major at Johnson C. Smith University. I think about outer space sometimes. I volunteer with a group that hosts events at a local planetarium, so I'm around physicists and astronomers regularly. I enjoy the science of money, how to invest it, how to buy stocks, business cycles, interest rates. I read the newspaper. I read lots and lots of books. So yes, I am a nerd. And that's okay. I'm at a point now in my life where I know that that's okay and that's a good thing. You know, when you think about the new technologies that are always coming out and the technologies that we're using today, the social media, the operating systems, the computers, the smartphones, all of it, you know, the way we purchase goods online. You know, I think of names like Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos and Robert F. Smith. He was the guy who forgave the loans of those Morehouse students this year. He had a background in chemical engineering and he started his own equity group. I believe it was an equity group. But he was a STEM guy. He was a nerd. So being a nerd is okay. And if you sound like, if you're from New York and you sound like you're from Boston, that's okay. My stepmother, or my former stepmother, I still consider her my stepmother. My stepmother used to joke that my dad sounded like he was from Boston as opposed to Harlem. And that's kind of a joke about the way my dad talked. But again, no matter what people say about you, or no matter how people perceive you, at some point you have to develop a self-love, and you have to accept yourself. And I'm going to take us out with a story about a counselor that I saw at work when that relationship broke down. The one where my plus one asked me if I knew who Fabulous was. So one of the things me and this counselor talked about was self-love and accepting myself. And this counselor said, you know, regardless of what people say, you know, you have to be okay with you. You have to love yourself. He said, if someone calls you an asshole, just, you know, be able to smile and shrug your shoulders. He said, my wife calls me asshole sometimes, and I just, you know, smile and shrug my shoulders, and I say, okay, well, fine, that's fine. So it's critical to be able to accept yourself and love yourself, regardless of what other people say and think about you. I don't know who this was for. I was just compelled to make this video. Sometimes things happen through conversations and through everyday life, and then these ideas for videos come up. And I felt like shooting this one and telling that story about my plus one and the rapper Fabulous. If you've been called a nerd or something equivalent, or if you've been made to feel unusual because of who you are, please leave your comment or story in the comment section below. Please like the video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. Always remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.